Good morning. It's Jim Marshall here, and it's the Cottage Country Insider podcast. Today's guest is Sean Harrison. Sean is our video photographer guy, and I'm going to pass the mic over to you, and you can give kind of what your business is about.
Yeah, so I'm Sean Harrison, the owner of Teczr Media. We've been producing real estate content for I think this is probably fourth or fifth year now, and we do like just about everything: photos, videos, drone productions, 3D tours, just about everything you'd need to sell a house. And I think this is
And
our second year working together. I think so.
yeah, it's our second year working together. Sean recently, and here's some of the things that we find that are a bit of a kind of trying to do a business in the Perry Sound area. Sean originally was living in the McKellar area,
Yep.
and he had to relocate down to Barrie for better internet.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
it's
living on an island there using Starlink, and
yeah.
the Starlink was good and it worked, but definitely run into a lot of issues, especially if you mess up a render or something, and then you have to re-upload it, and it takes another 45 minutes to upload. It's
Well,
takes
I
like
don't think most people realize how big these files are. Like if you do a
yeah.
video for us, like I don't know, say 2 minute video with drone photography and some of the stuff. Like how big are those files that you're sending to us?
Well, so if we're doing like a 2.5 video at 4K, 60 FPS, it's like usually 2.5 to 3 gigabytes. And then
Yeah.
we have the branded, the unbranded version, then the Facebook version, then all the photos. So like it adds up pretty quick. You could be, 10 gigabytes every single time we do a shoot, right? So and
Which
that's finished footage. That's not even
yeah.
raw.
Yeah,
So
and that, like, for most people, Starlink will work fine. But,
yeah.
you've got a business like yours. I can't think of another business, Sean, that would probably be more bandwidth intensive as doing
Yeah.
video. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
But when you see the videos, they're just awesome. They're just outstanding. And, how important is it to have high quality visuals, when we're shooting things? Because I'll just give you a bit of a background. I've been in the business, and we've talked about this a little bit before, Sean, where back in the 1980s, I would take my 35 millimeter camera and I'd shoot about 12 photos. We
Yeah.
didn't have a photo MLS. We'd make, we'd basically glue the photos onto a board and put them on the wall. That was it. So we've gone from that to this. So how important is this if you're looking to sell your cottage, your house, or even your vacant property?
I'm starting to think it's probably one of the most important things now because it's especially in the time that we're living in with everyone's starting to use the internet more, and the number one way I would think that people would find houses is going straight to the MLS. And I think the number one way to stand out on the MLS is to have the first photo to be eye-catching, right? Like depending on the area you're looking in, there could be hundreds of other houses that are listed, and in order to get your scene or to catch the eye of a buyer is to have that first photo be very eye catching, and then also when they come into the listing, continue that same quality throughout the rest, right? Like with the other photos, the videos, etc. Because if you have one good eye catching photo and then the rest of them are bad, it throws people off, right? And you have less time that people sit on your listings. You have less engagement, less of a chance for them to contact you. So I think now, especially after going through COVID, I think it's like one of the number one things to have just because of how much people are searching on the internet for homes.
Yeah. I agree. And, when you do a video, or even the way that we put our photos on our listings, you're really telling a story. You're creating a narrative for these
Yeah.
properties. You start in the outside, you work inside, you go through, the principal rooms, the bedrooms, the basement, and then you kind of circle back into the outside. And when we do our photos, it takes a lot. Like we have 50 photos, and you send us usually double that. So we got to kind of
Usually, yeah,
curate.
usually more.
Usually more. You're 80 or more. So we have to curate the
Yeah,
50 best. We put it in a folder. Then we have to go through and make sure that everything's in order. You don't want to go, living room, dining room, kitchen, bedrooms, bathrooms. Is kind of the way we do it. Then work
yep,
downstairs, do the principal rooms again. But if it's waterfront, we do the waterfront photos.
yep,
Generally, primarily is what we do, or a lot of them, anyways. The dock, the outside, and that. So you're kind of
yep,
creating a story, and the videos kind of follow the same format. So
exactly.
if you are a home seller or cottage seller, how do you prepare your house or cottage for it? Because there is obviously some work that the homeowner needs to do.
Yeah, I definitely encourage, obviously, the house being clean.
Yeah,
Any
because it will
spaces that
show
are,
dirty if it will show dirty.
yeah,
Mm.
the photos are a little easier to adjust and make brighter, and kind of remove some of the clutter. But the video, definitely, if you're having video come through, it shows everything. So there's no hiding anything from video. So definitely, like, clean up cluttered spaces. A lot of the times, just next to nothing on your countertops, like remove, coffee machines and all that stuff, just hide it away. Same thing with just like straightening things up, as simple as like your dining room table, trying to make sure that all the chairs are straight and aligned. That's something that I do when I'm shooting too. I'm always paying attention if things are aligned, blankets are centered, pillows are up straight, stuff like that. That's probably the main parts, just like making sure that there's not clutter sitting around. A lot of the stuff that you'll see, like, it's just stuff that you can, drag out of the room that just doesn't necessarily need to be there, like a rack that's holding jackets or something. Like, just completely take it out and just remove it, put it in the garage or something while the interior is being done, because an empty space looks better than a cluttered space, right? So
100%. I would
yeah.
probably also add that whatever you said as far as clutter, do it with the outside as well.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because you can't hide stuff outside. And if you're looking at a drone video of your property from 100 feet up,
Yeah.
you're going to see everything.
Yeah, exactly. Any
Yeah.
like stick piles, or like, same thing with like organizing outside with like chairs around a fireplace, try and make sure they're evenly spaced, or,
Yeah.
set up the chairs on the dock in a certain way like that. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. What about lighting? How important? And if you notice, I have my kitchen behind me. I've got every freaking light on behind
Yeah.
me. Is it that important? And it's a sunny day today. So is
Yeah.
it that important even on a sunny day to have all your lights on?
Yeah, I think it's super important. It definitely gives more to the space. It shows like how it can be lit, and it lights the like the smaller corners and stuff that sometimes are harder to light. Even we use a process called HDR for our photography, and a lot of the time the HDR will make the room bright enough. But I've found that shooting the HDR with the lights off versus on, it just completes, I think, just having the lights on makes it a lot more like warm and cozy of a feeling, and less dry and cold. So I think definitely having all your lights on, even when it is a sunny day, is like crucial to making sure that the photos come out good.
Make sure all your bulbs are working.
Yes. We've had that happen a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
watching
The
something
HC.
back, and there's an out bulb on the
Oh,
island or something. It's like 2 out of the
oh
3
yeah.
lights are working.
Yeah. And you can kind of cover that up with pictures, but you can't with video again. You just
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
do it. You can't do
Yeah,
it.
you
You're
can't
you're
adjust
you're you're
anything when you're in the
you're
video.
euchred. Yeah, you're done. What is HDR? Is this the and we saw? I know what it is. I know, like for the listeners here,
Yep.
kind of explain it out.
So, basically, when we first got into photography and real estate, we kept running into an issue, especially in cottage country, where there was next to no light in some of the rooms, which we've actually ran into multiple rooms that just have no lights, period. And we kept running into the issue of figuring out lighting. So we tried doing just stationary lighting for videos and photos, and I wasn't happy with it. We tried flash, and I definitely wasn't happy with it because it just makes some things look too blown out and almost fake. So I wanted to go for something more natural. So we ended up refining a process that we learned from actually a friend in Miami that I have that runs a similar business called HDR photography. And so what this is basically you can take it takes 3 to 5 photos. So exposure is basically, in a simple way of putting it, is like brightness. So it takes we expose the photo in the center to what basically a neutral exposure would be of the room, and then it takes 2 exposures higher and then 4 exposures higher. So it's basically making the photo brighter and brighter 2 times. And then that basically gets all the dark areas of the room. And then it does 2 exposures lower, 4 exposures lower. So 5 photos total. And the lower ones actually expose the outsides of the windows and the lights. So anything that's super bright, it will expose those correctly. And then in the end, we use I actually have an editor in Australia that hand blends the photos in Photoshop, and he basically makes it so that the brights and the darks all come together to make like a seamlessly lit photo in just about any situation. Like
So
I've shot.
basically, the way your eye would see it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
How your eye would see
yeah,
it. You can see
yeah.
inside and outside without having white blown out windows or anything like that. It pulls it together, and it's a 5 photo process.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. And this is when we started seeing HDR in our business, or high dynamic range photography. It was really freaky because a lot of people were doing it, and it looked like kind of stuff you'd see in the 60s, the psychedelic kind of colors. And obviously, we're not doing that with this. This isn't as stark as those photos.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
it's definitely cool to see, like usually with that was my biggest stigma when I got into the industry, was just looking at, photos that had completely white blown out windows and you can't really
yeah.
see what's going on. Cause I think, one of the most important things, especially in cottage country, is your views and the surroundings to the house, right? So being able to
Mhm.
see out the windows clearly is definitely something that I wanted to focus on.
Especially if you got a view, like if you got like a
Of
lake view
course.
from the front, you want to see that in the photo,
Yeah.
not this blown out window that you can't see anything. Everything's just blown out. So
Exactly.
if so for creating video virtual tours, neighborhood highlights for, when we're putting a property up, what are you basically trying to put together? If you're gonna if I say, Sean, I got a new house listed in Perry Sound here. I want you to shoot a video of it. It's winter time still. It's March. So, how would you shoot that kind of in your head and put that
Um,
together?
the first thing we kind of establish is obviously location. So we'll figure out establishing shots for the location depending on if it's, lakefront or close to a lake, or, in the city of Perry Sound. We'll kind of determine what type of shots we're going to focus on, especially, lakefront. We're going to get lower to the lake, show that it's lakefront. If we're in Perry Sound, we're going to focus on, more of the location and how close it is to the actual town. So usually we'll start there, and we'll start with drone stuff. And then we'll just carry drone stuff into like some lower flying shots and things like that to actually show the property itself. And then we usually carry into the interior with the video. And obviously, we like to keep the video seamless, like you said before, and keep it as more of a walkthrough, as if they were walking through the house and experiencing the house themselves, room by room.
Kind of like a virtual tour kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how do you do, like, are there limitations that you run into with drone photography? Like we've got, a major airport, regional airport that's about 20 kilometers south of Perry Sound, where the crow flies.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that we ran into last year, is basically clearance for the airports, because there's certain zones around the airport that you can't fly within a certain amount of kilometers around the airport. So some listings we actually can't do drone photography at all because of the technology now and the new drones that prevent you from flying in those areas, obviously for safety reasons. to protect obviously pilots and everything from having unwarranted drones in the airspace when they're trying to take off and land and stuff like that. So that's definitely like a challenge that we run into often in Seguin.
Seguin. Yep.
Yeah, that area we run into that quite a bit, but yeah, it's not
How
too
how
bad.
how close can you get to the airport?
I think it's 4
Three or
miles.
four. It's in miles. Okay. Okay.
I think it's miles. I can't remember what the actual kilometers of the zone is. I think it may have been 5 kilometers, and then I think it's 3.5 miles or something. But there's
Okay.
a circle radius around it, and then at the
Mm.
front and back of the airport, there's obviously the red zone, which is completely restricted, is the actual airport, and then there's zones on the end of it. There's a 120-meter fly zone, and then as you get closer to the ends of the airport, it goes 120, then 60, then no fly. So
So if you
the
try to
zones
do a
are,
video on Roberts Lake, which is just south of the airport, it's going to be a no go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We've ran into a couple shoots where I get out of my truck and I hear planes, and I'm like,
And
oh,
going,
I should
oh,
get that
yeah, there's like
airport.
this isn't going to work. Is it that? And we talked about it a little bit, and we see obviously there's agents out there that are still using this to take
Yeah,
photography, and I honest, like, when we travel, I don't take my normal camera with me, my Sony, anymore, because the phone just takes such great photos.
yeah.
So, what would your word be to real estate agents that are still using their iPhone, or God forbid their BlackBerry to take photos?
Yeah. Well, I do think the phones are great in what they can do, but I don't think it's something that's good for realtors to be doing in general. One, because of how time consuming it is. Two, because majority of the iPhone photos that I see, they may be in good quality, but they're almost 100% of the time never level. They're always facing crooked to the ground or facing crooked that way, just because they're just inexperienced in taking photos. And there's just a lot of just inconsistencies in using your iPhone to take photos that I think will throw off buyers, and especially when you're coming into like higher end homes and more expensive listings. I think the buyers that are interested in those listings are probably more quality oriented, and want to see realtors that are putting in or putting out the expense to actually make the house look good and appealing, especially like if you have a multi-million dollar listing and someone has the type of money to afford that and they're coming and looking at it and it's just iPhone photos. I don't think it's something that's going to be very attractive for the buyer. I think there's a lot of problems that you can run into when using the iPhones. Like a lot of them shoot in live photos and unwarranted HDR photos, and then when it gets converted to different platforms, they're not HDR photos anymore because they don't support Apple. So there's a lot of problems you can definitely run into when using an iPhone. Um, but yeah, I think it's more of just the consistency of things, right?
So when you're looking at your place next year, and or last year when you're moving to Barrie, you're looking obviously online and that. What would you be your biggest beef for photography that you kind of sticks in the top of your mind when you're looking at these photos?
I think the thing that drives me crazy the most is definitely blown out windows.
Blown
Like
out window.
white
Yeah.
windows. I
You know what
just
mine is?
What's that?
I share this all the time. Toilet seats that are open.
Yeah, yeah, I do notice that all the time now.
Oh,
Now that
oh
you
God.
mentioned it to me the other year, I can't stop unseeing it
Yeah,
everywhere.
and it's just like close your freaking toilet seat. Like, we don't want to see inside your toilet.
Yeah,
It's gross.
exactly.
We also see sometimes pictures with dogs and little people on the sofa. It's, yeah,
Yep,
and it's unfortunate because you're really not doing anybody any favor. You might as well not even have those photos on there. In in
yep.
my in my mind, what else do you do as far as your service goes beyond the photo and the video for homeowners or for realtors?
So this year we actually added 15 new add-ons. So we have quite a bit of new add-ons that we're offering. I'll actually pull it up quick so I can read some of these off.
Okay.
Um,
And at the end of
but
this,
there's
we'll give a link over to Sean's website so you can look at all the
that'd be
stuff
great.
yourself as well. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, so some of the things that so over the last 3 years, we've basically been trying to identify like other services that we could offer that would help sell homes. So like a lot of the things, like one thing that we started doing this year is virtual twilights. So in the case where we don't have time to come back to shoot a twilight photo, or that's not an option in the situation, we've actually started doing digital twilights, and they've actually been coming out really good. We have a couple examples I could show you, but we're basically taking a photo in complete daytime and making it look like it's sunset with the house lights on and everything in a darker setting, which is good for the MLS because it takes your eye away from regular photos. When people are scrolling down the MLS and they're looking at all blue sky, green grass photos, and then they see a sunset, they're like, "Oh!" And you stop for a second and you actually look at that for maybe a couple seconds more, and maybe that's what maybe that's what gets them to click on the listing. So that's one of the things. We've also been diving into things like just community photos. So basically, gathering photos of the local areas and then offering that to the realtors so that they can put maybe in those 50 photos a couple photos of say, downtown Barrie, the waterfront, the beach, stuff like that. Just amenities that are like local. We've been offering a lot of social media orientated stuff. So TikTok and Instagram Reels are starting to take off. So it's a newer style of real estate. It's not so much I think the packages that we're still offering are base packages where we have our full video and photos. That's more of a style for the MLS where it's more of people are on the MLS and they're taking their time to actually look at something. So they want to see everything about the home. That's where I think those style contents will shine. And the social media content that we've been doing is more fast paced, attention grabbing, just like, 5 or 6 quick clips of the interior to some nice music. And maybe while they're scrolling down, they're like, oh, wait, that's a nice house, and they see on the front of the video that it says Barry and they're like, that's actually close to me, then maybe that hooks them to get them to go look at your website to see, the full package and stuff. So we've been doing a lot of social media style stuff, which has been panning out really well. Um, Obviously, virtual staging, like we were going to talk about, which basically taking an empty room and coming up with an idea of what it could look like, adding furniture for to give the photos more detail and stuff like that. Um, and there's
How do you do the virtual staging? Because I've seen there's different. Is it a software type application you put on it?
Yeah, so I have an editor on Australia that handles all of it. But it is a software where they can input the photos and then they basically have furniture that is 3D. So basically made in a 3D program and they can basically fit the
Wow.
furniture to the space and size it properly and then create, a living room with couches and, dining tables and all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
I have to ask this too because I know the answer. But why do you use somebody in Australia to do your photography, your post processing?
So we actually use our guy in Australia basically for the fastest turnover time that we can get because we like to shoot during the day, obviously here around noon, and then when I get back, I upload all the photos to him in Australia, and when I'm going to sleep, he's waking
He's
up.
waking up.
Yeah, so he does all of the editing while I sleep, and then when I wake up, I'm able to just package and turn over to the realtors usually within, 12 to 24-hour period, and it's
Yeah.
very quickly. Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. When the first time you told me, I got it. It's a
Yeah.
12-hour difference between here and Australia.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it definitely makes the difference, and it's, like, extremely helpful when when you can just take some time and go relax while he does the work instead of having to work overnight, right? So It's good.
So we've had, like, since COVID started, like, so many changes the way that we as realtors and you as a photographer, videographer do our business. And a lot of it was because, the beginning parts couldn't get people literally into houses. You had to really, do the virtual tours and things like that. But, can you kind of predict what we're looking at, like what new things are coming in? There's a lot of stuff with AI coming up, but kind of give
Yep.
us your insights as what do you think the future, where we're going with this technology.
I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things start to show up. Especially, I think one of the most interesting thing is probably going to be VR tours. So it'll be more of a higher quality of the 360 tours that we do right now that you can view online and sort of walk through the house. But it'll be more of you'll actually be putting on a headset and walking through the house visually, where you can turn your head and look around and almost use a controller to walk. So that's an advancement that's coming pretty quickly. I do think AI, such as chatbots and stuff like that, are going to change a lot of, especially how realtors do copywriting and how spaces are showcased. There's going to be a lot of AI generated things such as graphics and you know even photos. I would imagine that the virtual staging and stuff will eventually get taken over by AI, and it'll be done pretty quickly. Um, yeah, there's a lot of advancements. I think short form content is going to start to pull a little stronger, just because I think just in the space of like trust, especially because our generation just for some reason puts mass amounts of trust into online creators and faces that we see online. So I think it's going to be a big shift for basically realtors that understand marketing and social media are going to be able to do a lot better than realtors that don't, because of like the strategies that are going to be taken. um just because I think a lot of the stuff's going to go more social media way. I think a lot of content may also switch to more depending on how the numbers go over the next couple years. I think a lot of content will eventually switch to almost full vertical, um,
How do you
where
mean? Oh, okay, I
I think
haven't thought of that.
I think there may be a time where even we'll offer a photo package that will be entirely vertical and a video package that will be entirely vertical. So a
Oh,
two and
yeah.
a half minute vertical video and a 50 photo package of vertical photos. Because depending on the numbers, if they stay where they are, I'm pretty sure it's still like we're still sitting around like an 80% viewing range of people viewing even on the MLS on their phones where
Yeah.
they're, just on their phones. So horizontal photos on your phone is still, you have to turn it sideways and then go through them. So I think over the next couple years, if those numbers stay up, we'll definitely start considering full vertical packages and offer that as the trial for a lot of our realtors to see how it works out, which I think it could be really beneficial because the use of computers are getting less and less, and even things like iPads, they're primarily vertical. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes.
We have right now, and I follow all the analytics on our website. Um, we're at about getting close to three quarters coming in off of mobile devices.
Yep.
So, and which just drives me crazy because a lot of the technology we use in our business is all computer, and it's just
Yep.
like you got to build mobile devices out because that's how we're accessing most of this information. The AI, we should have a conversation between ourselves about what we're doing with the AI because
Yep.
I've been using it since it started. We're creating a lot of content through it with Chat
Yep.
GBT. I'm creating stock photography using applications like DALI and use what's the other one? I'm just trying to think. What is Midjourney? And
Yep.
are they perfect? Nope. But if I want to put a social media post out here, I've never tried doing this. Let me just try doing something. I'm gonna just
At the speed the bots are learning, it's terrifying. So it's not going to be long until it is perfect.
Yeah,
Is
I
what a
can't.
lot of people don't understand.
Well, we've done it for some of our Facebook advertising because I don't like using
Yep.
people's private properties, even though I've got pictures. I use one that a cottage that doesn't exist anymore because it got
Yep.
torn down. I use that a
Yep.
lot, but we started just putting some together, and it's nobody's cottage. AI created it. And I just put,
Yep.
create a Muskoka style cottage with a rocky shoreline, traditional, blah, blah, blah. And it spits out stuff. And it's like, oh my God. And you put
Crazy.
it on a Facebook or an Instagram post, you wouldn't know. And
Sometimes even you can make them look, like I was playing around with it the one night and I had do an all black kitchen with a nice big window overlooking mountains and a sunset. And it
yeah,
came out like perfect.
yeah.
And it's like you could use that. And that's like such an eye catching image that just that alone will grab somebody's attention going down the timeline. But
And
like
there's
as for ChatGPT, it's like I've basically integrated it as an employee at this point because I use it
we're
every day.
I use it every day too. And as soon as they came out with the paid accounts a couple weeks ago, I was one of the first ones probably in Canada to sign up for it for $20.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you want to create and one of the things I've been traditionally not that strong about is kind of some of the content that we put on as far as the description of our listings. Now,
Yep.
and you don't use it right, just paste it in. You take it's a research tool. You take your
Yep.
content, you put it in, you take it out, you edit it for grammar because it's not great with grammar.
Yep.
We're pretty good with that, and we change it around a little bit and then stick it on the website. So it's not like I'm a grade 12 kid that's writing an exam on the American Civil War for me and sticking it into my computer and emailing it to my teacher. We're actually doing it, and you can do stuff like write it for SEO, write it for these keywords. It's insane.
Yeah,
Most
it's just
realtors,
as long as you can give it the right prompts to build out what you're looking for, it can do some pretty incredible things. Like our blogs that we've been actually putting out is they're written by AI, but we are basically um I'm giving it like the baseline structure of what I want it to
yeah.
do, and then I ask it to build an outline, and then I tweak, then I ask it to write, and then I tweak, and then yeah. But like obviously, as most people know, blogs are specifically for SEO and dragging people in through Google. So that's one of the things that it's really good at is understanding SEO and how to word things to obviously rank on Google.
Because that's just like good photography, having good copy and having copy that is written with SEO in mind
Yep,
is paramount. If you want to
exactly.
have your property seen, and these are the things that between you and me that we do for our
Yeah,
clients. So the properties can be the first one that people are looking if they're looking for a cottage or house in Barrie or Perry Sound or wherever. So if you're a
yep.
realtor or a homeowner, what you have can you give some general costs as far as what somebody would be paying for a package?
For the packages, yeah. So we actually offer a range of packages, and it's more. We actually just came out with a new range for this year to give our realtors more options for their price ranges. So I'd say, our most popular package is our Real Estate Pro, which is $595. That gives you 50 plus photos, which as Jim said earlier in the podcast, it's usually around 80. As long
Yeah.
it really depends on the property. If it's like we did 1,000 square foot photo or house yesterday, and it was I think 50 on the dot. Just because really depends on the house, but especially summertime and time of year, right? With winter, you can only take so many photos of snowy outside. But if
Yeah.
it's middle of the summer, you can get a lot more photos of the green grass. Nice cottagey look. So it comes with usually over 50 photos, drone photos along with that. So there's usually a range of drone photos. Obviously, again, determining on the season will determine how many. Then there's a 60 to 120-second full 4K video that also comes with drone video inside of it, and then a YouTube thumbnail along with that. So
What
that's
about and you have packages as well for virtual tours?
Yeah, then we have a 360 package, which is $795. That it basically includes the same stuff, but you also get a 3D Matterport tour, which is the full walkthrough of the house, and 2D floor plans along with that. And then
And
we've made
the floor plans with those things are phenomenal that they
it's
generate.
incredible. It's within, I think it's within an inch and a half accuracy or something like that of exact measurements. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
what blew my mind the most when I first started doing it. So, if for the viewers that you don't know, we walk around the house with a camera and set it down, and it scans a 360-degree photo, and makes like a basically a 3D view of the house. And it allows the viewer to walk through the home, but it also auto generates 2D floor plans, almost like a blueprint, in almost exact measurements, which is like pretty crazy to see.
Well, it's in some ways it's probably more accurate than some realtors are measuring because it uses LiDAR technology.
Yep.
So it's, it's like echolocation type,
Well, and it also measures, things like the islands and other, every access to the wall, like even small nicks in the wall. Like I would imagine most of the time they're just going around with a laser measuring tape and just doing base measurements of room dimensions, right? So that gives you a lot more to work with when you're trying to plan your living space and stuff when you're looking online, right? So
yeah. Well, when they, we do our own virtual tours,
yep,
we bought it the week before things closed down with COVID back in 2020, because I
yep,
was looking at it early March going, and we sold that spring 3 places directly
yep.
because of the virtual tours.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy
so
stuff.
it should be there. You should have all the stuff available for people because
Yeah, I think
and go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just think with, especially with how COVID has changed things and how people are looking online, I think that's like, one of the most important things next to obviously photos and videos that I would get done if it's in the budget, because of just like photos and videos are great and they give you the nice walkthrough, but actually being able to like virtually stand in the house and look around and walk, up and down all the stairs and see like the layout of the house is a completely different feeling than, any photo or video could provide, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's so, if you're looking at a listing on realtor.ca, you can access all these all this media just by the links within realtor.ca, the virtual tour, the video, the
Yep.
things. So from a realtor standpoint, when somebody arrives at the house or the cottage or whatever you're selling, it's basically they've seen all this stuff. This is the
Yeah.
assumption. So you
Yeah.
might get less showings, but more qualified people coming through your house by
Yeah, exactly.
having this technology. Yeah, there's very
Of
few
course.
people that are not looking at the internet for
Yeah.
in their home purchase. So good. So
Yeah.
so we'll wrap up. How can people get in touch with you? What's the easiest way?
Easiest way is probably just going to our website,
Okay.
www.teczrmedia.com, and Teczr is spelled Teczr media.com.
When
Um,
we'll put the link in the notes so you
yeah,
can just click on it and get onto it. Yeah.
yeah, we have a full production page where you can view our packages, our prices, all the packages we have, all the add-ons, previous work, and basically like breakdowns of stuff that we do, videos and stuff, and it shows you a lot. Gives you a good idea of everything that we can produce for you if you're a realtor.
Perfect. Well, thanks for taking the time this morning to chat with us. As I said, we'll put the link to your website in the show notes, so you can just click through in that. We've got a lot of other people lined up for this podcast going over the next couple of weeks, so we're really excited to bring other people in that are related somehow to the real estate profession in Perry Sound, or if you're looking to buy a solo house. So some really good information here on the Cottage Country Insider. So take a look. You can pick us up on Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or through your favorite podcast app. So Sean, thank you very much again. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful weekend, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you soon, man.
You too.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.